Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will be seeing, are the roller coasters of Cedar Point worth the hype? And me and my fellow creator here, Jake,
Hello.
we have different ideas of what worth the hype means, I'm assuming. And my definition, so keep this in mind when we're going over this. My definition of worth the hype is essentially just, is the roller coaster, does it live up to its reputation? What people, the majority of people, think about it? Jake, I'm not sure what your idea is. You can go ahead and say.
My idea is like the popularity of the ride or the roughness of the ride.
Okay, makes sense. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be doing coasters at Cedar Point, which is a major amusement park that both of us have been to. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Jake, you can pick the first coaster.
Let's start with, I'll do an easy one. Let's do Gatekeeper.
Okay. Whew. I'm gonna I'm gonna say I like Gatekeeper. It's honestly, I think it's kind of just mild. It's smooth. The pacing's pretty good until like that break run. It has its flaws. I really like the first drop in version. I'm just gonna say the near misses are good too. It's just a simple coaster to me. Yeah, that's my opinion.
My opinion is, I do love that turn or that inversion before the, oh my god. Uh I do love that inversion straight when you get off the lift hill. It's amazing. But the loop there at the drop, it's a little rough. You can feel the G-forces on that. I do love the pacing and stuff. It's not bad. So I'll say it's worth the hype.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I don't see too much bad things, or too many good things about this coaster. I think it's given a pretty mid reputation, and I think that's what it deserves. I'm also going to say that. All right. Well, next, I do want to build up here to the best coasters in the park. So we're going to go with Raptor.
Uh, I'm going to say that it's pretty good, but there's some ups and downs. I don't really like the ending part. It makes all your blood go down to your feet, and it just hurts. It gives you a headache. But I do love the inversions. Of course, yeah, you'll get a lot of head banging, but I found a way how to not get head banging. But I say it's 50-50 on hype.
All right. I The Raptor hate is about to start here. I rode Raptor around 4 years ago ish, either or, and I did not get to ride it on my most recent visit because it was testing after it had some work done. I absolutely hated the headbanging. It felt jarry, the ride itself, and shaky, and the headbanging was absolutely notorious. It was so bad, and I was bothered by it the entire ride to the point where I actually passed out. I don't know if that was from G forces, and I doubt it because that's like one of, if not the only roller coaster that I've um blacked out on. And I'm just gonna say it's intense, but honestly, the headbanging is just horrible. It really bothered me and ruined the experience for me. So I'm gonna say it's not worth the hype. Like some people really say it's the best in, like honestly, some people say it's the best in the world, and I don't think it lives up to that at all. I don't think it lives up to even some of the hype it gets. You can pick the next coaster.
We're gonna do Blue Streak.
Oh, okay. Um, so for Blue Streak, I'm gonna go ahead and say, whew, Blue Streak. I also did not ride it on my most recent visit, and I was younger and shorter, so it didn't. I didn't really notice the roughness as much back then, but Now I could see why people would say it's rough. It's obviously a very old classic coaster. And I mean, it was a good Woody when I was there. I just do think the hate it gets is honestly, I can see why. Some people like it and some people don't. So I'm gonna say it does live up to what it's given. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it is pretty rough now. Last visit, I believe I rode it. It's definitely getting rougher and rougher every year, but I feel like for how old it is, it would be like that. But overall, I kind of like the airtime it has. It's a little short. Wait times are a little crazy sometimes for a old coaster, but I see how it would be. But I say it's worth the hype.
All right. We can do let's look at Iron Dragon next. I'm gonna go and say I do like this ride for what it is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a chill family coaster. I really love the suspension, like the swinging vehicle. Um, and it's honestly, I feel like given too much hate. It's not supposed to be like some. It's not supposed to be a top thrill 2 level of intensity roller coaster. I like the helix and I like the swinging and some of the transitions as well. The second lift hill's a little weird, but it is going pretty slow at that point, so I think it kind of needed it to finish the ride. Um, I'm gonna say it doesn't, or it. I'm gonna say like it's given too much crap. Essentially, I think people hate on it too much and don't realize what it's supposed to be, and just it deserves better, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do like it actually. It's not bad. I love the swinging coasters, but the layouts is a little weird. I mean, that second lift is a little weird, but at least it's going faster. I do love the transitions and the swinging and going over by or go over that little pond. That's a little cool. Um, just overall, I'd say it's worth the hype because little kids also ride it.
Yeah. All right. Next up, let's go ahead and look at. Let's just pop next door to Rougarou. You can go first.
Rougarou. Oh. Um, well, here comes the hate. I do not like Rougarou. I rode it one time, never riding it ever again. The headbanging's insane. I don't like that trim brake before the loop. It hurts. And just the layout, it's a little whippy and stuff. So I say it's not worth the hype.
Yeah, I feel like this ride, I want it to be taken down. The headbanging is worse than that of Raptor, honestly, in my opinion. It's pretty rough. It's more rough than Raptor too. I honestly hate this thing more than Raptor. And I think like they have better options for it. Like they should just replace it. And I feel like it gets reasonable amounts of hate. Remember, we have different like kind of terms of worth the hype, what that means. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it is worth the hype because people hate on it, and I think that's some reasonable hate. You can pick the next one.
I'll do Wild Mouse.
Um, go and see here. Wild Mouse. I actually embarrassingly did not ever ride this. The first time I went, Wicked Twister was still there, and the second time I went, I just didn't ride it. So, Jake, this is all you.
So, I mean, it's pretty good for a nice new coaster. I mean, it's like something that you'd find at a fairground, kinda. Or you'd find at a random zoo who had it or has it. Um, because my actual hometown zoo has one of those, and it hurts like heck. It's like a Timu thing. But back to Cedar Point. Uh, I like how the layout is. I wish it would be longer, but I get it for like a wild mouse coaster type. Uh, I don't like. I wish they would all spin. It's based off of the weight distribution though. So every time I end up riding it, it never spins, and people get lucky if they do. But the wait times are a little ridiculous. They're kind of slow at operations, which I would get it, but yeah, I mean it's smooth and all, but I don't think it's worth the hype.
Alrighty. Next up, I'm trying to process what we have left. Let's go with Gemini. Okay. For Gemini, I'm going to say it's really falling off. Like, there was a big difference in when I went years ago and my most recent visit last summer. First of all, there was no racing going on, they only had one train running, and it's losing popularity greatly as well. I think it's getting pretty rough, honestly. Some of those things are getting like very violent, those turns. The first drop is decent. It's actually pretty surprising for what it is. But you get some nice, pretty aggressive ejector airtime pops, but I'm thinking it's getting a little bit um old, obviously. I think it's time for this coaster to see its final days, unfortunately. And I do think it gets mid reviews, like mixed reviews from everybody. So I'm gonna say it is worth the hype.
Yeah. Well, when you said the coaster's falling off, the parts are literally falling off too.
Yeah, Enchanted Parks. We don't wanna.
Yeah. Uh, I do love the airtime though. The layout's pretty nice. I just hate the last turn into the brake run into the station. It just
Oh,
whips you super bad.
like that helix. I think there is a helix at the end.
A helix, a helix, I believe. But it's mostly closed when I go there, or it's open. They'll have maybe once in a while they'll have only one train running, but every time I go, usually they have it racing. It does break around, or it breaks a lot, and I feel like it needs to go. They already removed Monster. I used to love Monster when I was littler. Of course, they got rid of that. Hopefully, they get rid of that one bird thing too, right by it, and then just tear that whole thing down. But I say it's 50-50 on hype there.
Yeah. All right. Also on Gemini, I know we're getting into a big talk, but Gemini is also like receiving a lot of controversy right now. I think there is always the option of RM seeing it, you know. I don't think that's gonna happen, but anyway, you can pick the next coaster.
Racing RMC would be cool, but
Yeah, Twisted Colossus 2.0, that would be nice.
yeah. Alrighty, let's see. Let's do Magnum XL.
Okay. Um, okay. Magnum XL. I think this coaster is just way too rough, honestly. Like, it's just hurts, especially with those restraints. The final airtime ejectors are absolutely horrible. Like, they're just so painful. It's ridiculous. Like, get new trains or restraints or something, because it feels like it's struggling, honestly. The coaster, it would be nice if it was like smooth and the restraints were better, honestly. It has a good layout and all. I'm gonna say it's worth that criticism it gets though. You see a lot of criticism, and I think it's very worth that criticism, so I'm gonna say it is worth the hype.
I do like Magnum, kinda. But here's the hate. I don't like the ending airtime hills. It hurts you like crazy, and you're like, no, I never want to ride this ever again. But I found out that if you sit in like the second to last row, you don't really get hurt that much as other people. So, and that loop and thing in the way back. it's a little rough when you start just banking out of nowhere into the turn and then those brakes. So, I don't know. I say it's not worth the hype. It hurts.
Yeah. All right. So also, that's what I don't like. I don't like when you have to find a specific row to enjoy your experience. That should not be a requirement. Like I believe it was like Blizzard Storm coasters or whatever, and he was like, "Well, you should try Alpenfury and blah blah blah. See, it's very good." I don't want to have to pick a specific seat. I feel like every seat or like most of the seats should be fine. All right. Anyway, you can actually no. I guess you picked. We can go with Cedar Creek Mine Ride.
Of course you chose that. Okay,
Yep.
so I'll start off. Cedar Creek Mine Ride. I do not like it. I mean, I kind of like the second part. It goes faster, but at the same time, it's whippy, and it's just that second lift hill. It's just a little unnecessary, and overall, I don't think it's worth the hype. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of airtime. It's just jerky though, and that head chopper almost to the end is crazy. So I say it's not worth the hype.
Yeah. I I think this coaster is it needs to be torn down as well. Like out of any this is I think it's gonna fall apart every time I'm riding it. I think we're gonna derail because this thing sounds bad and it literally shakes. Like Cedar Creek is in the name because it literally creaks. The track creaks, and the head chopper at the very beginning and the end, but the beginning specifically, I feel like I'm gonna get my head cut off, which isn't totally a bad thing, but it's just kind of an awkward head chopper. And it's just such a funky ride, honestly. It's just old and I think it gets good criticism though. So I'm gonna say it does live up to its reputation slash hype.
Let's do corkscrew.
Corkscrew. Absolutely it's a fine coaster until like the corkscrews and that turn into the corkscrews. It's so like short and the corkscrews are absolutely horrible. Worst coaster in the park. I get that it's historic and all, but I think it needs to be torn down, and it gets a lot of hate too. And I think that's very reasonable hate, like some of the others. Or, yeah, I do think that it's just honestly the worst in the park. Like, there's not much else to be said. It's an old arrow looper. That's exactly what you can expect. So I'm gonna say it is worth the reputation slash hype that it gets.
Yeah, I'm going with uh intimate on this one, honestly. It does hurt a lot. The corkscrews really hurt. It's it's so bad that the last time I rode it, my ears got busted on the side of the restraints because how low you sit down in that train. You start you start off like with that slow lift hill, building up tension, and then you go down that first drop and then into the loop, and you're like, okay, this is fine. And then you get to the corkscrews, and you're like, ow! And then it ends. So I do not want to ride this ever again in my life. That's not worth the hype.
Okay. We're looking at pretty much getting down to the premier coasters of the park at this point. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and go Valraven.
Valraven, Valraven, I like it. It's just I have to sit in the very front to not get hurt by it. It's a little jerky on the loops and stuff, but it's overall pretty fun. I like when you're on the edge. So I say overall, I think it's worth the hype.
All right. So for Valraven, I'm gonna say honestly, really good dive. Honestly, I'd say better than a lot of the dives. Not the best, but also not the worst. It's less weak in my opinion during its second half, and I really do like its first drop and inversion. I mean, it is a dive or loop, sorry. It is a dive, so obviously it has its flaws and kind of weak, but I'm gonna say it's not as weak as the others, and I honestly think it gets more hate, a little bit more hate than it should. I think it's honestly like better than Siren's Curse in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it is not worth the hype, or it's not worth the reputation. You can pick next.
Okay, we're doing Siren's Curse.
Okay, Siren's Curse. Um, for Siren's Curse, I really like the tilt. Um, like how flowy it is, and I like the airtime as well. I like the pacing, but it's just too short. Like Top Thrill 2 is like as long, if not longer, in terms of ride time than it. So that's like, I really think some people, like, it is not, I believe it's ranked 63rd in the world right now, and I don't agree with that. I think it's just too short. And it honestly, some of its thing or elements are repetitive, so I'm gonna say it's a little bit overrated and just not quite worth some of the amounts of hype it gets.
Siren's Curse. I love Siren's Curse. I just wish the layout was longer for how long the wait time is with the walkers and stuff. It just makes no sense. Because you spend all that money for fast lane, and then you get put into the normal line, and then you gotta wait like probably like 20 minutes to get up to the station, and then you finally get on. But overall, I love the pacing, and it's great for what it is. It's definitely worth the wait. So I say it's worth the hype, in my opinion.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to Millennium Force next. You can go first.
Oh, good old Millie. Okay, so Millie. I love how it is. It's just the first drop, yeah, it's good. But when you get past that first airtime hill, it's just Millennium Forceless. And rest of it's just a little bit of high speed corners and stuff. I mean, yeah, people probably like it and they do. But I feel like it should have been more forceful. But overall, it's just because it was newer back then in 2000s. So I understand. But overall, I think it's worth the hype.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. For Millennium Force, it you put it very well. It's pretty much just forceless after that first drop with some very insane speeds and the first overbank and the airtime hill. After it, it just pretty much relies on speed and just kind of your turning, and you get like pretty minimum airtime. It's like really just forceless through the rest of the ride. So I got on it, and after I got off, I was just disappointed. I mean, it was the first Giga, so it was more of like a tester, and Intamin obviously fixed many of those issues. But still, I just think it's not quite worth what I expected, and I don't think it's worth that hype. Next up, let's go ahead and go with Maverick. So for Maverick, I love this ride. It is a masterpiece. From start to finish, you pretty much have zero weak spots. You have some very, very flowy and great transitions throughout it. The pacing is amazing. Those inversions and turns, everything is just pristine throughout the entire ride. That second launch packs a punch, and everything. The one true airtime moment it has is actually really good as well. So I just love this ride, and I don't think there's much bad with it, honestly. Besides, sometimes the line moves a little bit slow because of the poor capacity. Otherwise, I think it's just a great coaster, and honestly, the best in the park. I think it's honestly underrated. I think it's better than Steel Vengeance, and I love Maverick. This is not really glazed. I gave it what it deserved, and I gave it chances like I gave every other coaster in this park. So I'm gonna say it deserves more hype, in my opinion.
Exactly what I was gonna say. There's nothing wrong about that ride. I mean, yeah, the wait times if you don't have fast lane is over in 3 hours still, which I understand because of how great it is. But overall, it's worth the hype, and this will remain my first or second best ride in the park.
All right, you can pick next.
I will pick Top Thrill 2.
Okay. Um, for Top Thrill 2, I when I got on this ride, I did not expect it to be as great as it was. I mean, obviously, it's gargantuan scale and speed, but it was just absolutely terrific. I mean, the first launch, sure, it's weaker than the others, but it's still a pretty good launch. And that rollback is great. And then you launch backwards at 100 miles per hour and get some of the best hang time in the world. It is insane. And then you just keep going into that 120-mile-per-hour launch up 420 feet in the air. It is just something that you have to experience to understand what I'm talking about, because it just left me blown away, and it's hard to describe. It's hard to find words for this
I won't
coaster.
give me a
It
result.
was definitely, definitely, it's given great reviews as well, and it deserves them. So I'm gonna say it's exactly worth the hype that and reviews that it gets, because it's given good hype and good reviews, and that is exactly what this coaster deserves.
When it first came out, yeah, it was quite a bit rough, but I feel like after they tweaked it, it's more better. I love that you get a rollback because everybody wanted that back then. But overall, I wish it still had that normal pulley launch because I didn't get to unfortunately experience that high speed in just a couple seconds yet, or at all on that ride. But overall, just don't sit in the front row. It feels like there's a leaf blower at your face, and you get bugs all over your face. But it's worth the hype. It's pretty smooth and stuff.
All right, and you know what time it is. It wouldn't matter who voted. We're going with the final coaster, Steel Vengeance. You can go ahead and go first.
Steel Vengeance. What do I have to complain about it? It's great overall, but there's one little part I would have to complain about. That's like let's split Steel Vengeance up into 1/6. About 5/6 of the ride before the end. It's a little tame. I wish it would be a little bit more better, but those final airtime ejectors before the brake run is very great. Really throws you out of your seat. But overall, I love it, and high speed and everything. It lives up it lives up to its name. So, it's worth the hype.
All right. I got on this coaster last summer expecting it to be the best in the world, the best at the park. And I gave it its chances like I gave every other roller coaster. And I got off it and I was like, that was great, but not best. And I love the drop. I love the intensity. The ejectors are great and the inversions are great. But it has its weak spots and it has its repetitiveness, you know what I meant. And the coaster, you see some of like the same inversions and airtime moments, and it has that weak spot in the block breaks. I don't know. I feel like those aren't necessarily needed, and I understand they want to have multiple trains, but you have sensors and cameras on the ride for those regards. Regardless, it is a masterpiece and it's a great coaster. I just don't think it's the best, and I think Maverick's better than it, honestly. I think it's close, but I really do think Steel Vengeance is not quite the best in the world. And I just don't think it's quite worth the hype of being the best in the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Go subscribe to my channel. Go subscribe to Jake's channel. This video required a heck lot of work, Thank you. We appreciate it.